Right. So when I am talking and thinking about what I want to talk about, sometimes I feel I always love to question what I believe myself. Meaning, every time I start a video, I think about a topic, I think of an idea, I think we could talk about, for instance, the category of love or the category of finances. I question myself again and again in different kinds of ways why I should be talking about. And today there were two ways I questioned myself. For one, um, should one aspire to live a life I love? I love asking these questions. I'm not saying it's wrong to live a life you love. And I'm not even saying that it is wrong to aspire to live a life I love. Like, that's what I believe, that one should aspire. But still, you have to question that thought. Should one even aspire to live a life one love? Or should one aspire to, for instance, live a life that is of service? Or should one aspire before having a life one love? Or should one aspire to live a life of where one of like commitment to solving a problem? Or should one live a life of pleasure or of abstinence, of like, what is the main value one should have? So in the end, it, for one, of course, makes you happy, but at the same time also serves the greater good of humanity and of your children, and provides them a good basis of living, as well as everyone else you love and care about. And maybe even on a bit bigger scale, if you are willing to think that way. And does aspiring to create a life one love actually help one gain a life one love? Because there are a lot of people that do something that most people would hate, and because most people would hate doing that, but they just decided that they will do it because it solves the problem, or it is something that most people would hate, they aspire to do exactly that. And that way they found a huge opportunity where no one else is willing to be to fight them in that area, because no one else would want to do it, but they just fell in love with it and are actually happy with doing it, even though it seems like a dirty job. That's something that came up when I was watching a video about dirty jobs from a TED Talk. And now I watched another video that affected me deeply emotionally, and we will watch a part of it, that where the main argument is the one he does later on. I will show you a little bit beforehand. I already jumped over 10 minutes 55, and we will watch like two minutes or so of this video, um, where he argues why a bottom-up process in climate change won't help, really. So if you just become a little bit, if for instance I eat no meat anymore, and um, another person does something, you will see it in the video. That's why I want to show you the video to you, because it's much better explained. Um, why that won't make a change. And before that, he explained like all the things that will happen, potentially, or can happen, um, if we keep going the way we are doing, and why it will probably happen. Um, and yeah, so, but I took the most essential stuff from this video, and will show it to you, and then we'll discuss how one should live in a world where potential climate collapse is probable. And I want to just discuss this topic. So let's get into the video, shall we? Yeah, we shall. Alright, I think you can see everything. I'm quickly checking the audio levels. Yeah, that should be alright. Let's get into it. And one more thing. I know that these kinds of videos are made to evoke emotions. So they are researched in a way to how can I best express this point of this crisis and this collapse happening, and not from a point of how can I most accurately depict reality, but how can I influence one's emotions so people can actually do something about it, often at least. And I'm pretty sure this is also the case with this video. If you watch how it's edited, it's definitely there to create emotion in you, but at the same time it seems to be based on facts. You can do the fact check. I didn't go and researched every fact deeper, but he did source all his sources. So if you want to look those sources up, they do include a lot of French sources that I can't check. So if you understand French, go for it. And if you don't believe something in it, let me know. But yeah, and it discusses a really important point about why we should give governments more power, and then I will also discuss Plato's view of the perfect state and why there is one idea, the rulers of wisdom, that may be potentially beneficial. Just a thought. Let's get into it.
Broad view of the systemic risks that we will be facing. I will now explain why, given the context, a global collapse is completely unavoidable. Here are the reasons.
So now he explains the reasons why a collapse is basically, why his belief is that a collapse is unavoidable.
Humanity doesn't perceive these dangers as truly imminent, but rather as hypothetical and seemingly distant, and it will refuse to fully prepare for them or make the necessary changes to avert catastrophe.
Yes, of course, I'm always relativizing anything that I haven't proven for myself, but I do see it as like an imminent thing that is coming, and I'm going at least from that assumption, even though I'm still open to facts and different information, because of the argument that he is doing next and how beneficial it is for governments. Because if we reason it to the end, it means that we should give governments much more power, because we as individuals will only act too egoistically and not enough organized.
Also, actions being taken by our governments are not aiming at true emission reduction. We continue to feed and maintain a system that is slowly but surely killing us. Big change will not happen from the ground up. Globally, we are not sufficiently coordinated. Here's a simple example. Someone decides to avoid taking the plane as an environmental gesture. His buddy becomes a minimalist, his sister goes vegan, and her cousin decides to consume organic only. Great. The gestures are individually relevant, but collectively, they lose their importance. The vegan sister will go meatless while others don't. The action gets drowned out. The cousin cuts on heating, but others still have it on full blast. Gesture lost. To be effective,
to be fair, the gesture isn't lost at all, not really lost, but it doesn't matter on the grand scale if you measure everything else that is happening. Of course, every gesture matters, because it represents and inspires others to do similar gestures. Yeah, just wanted to.
Changes need to be applied across the board. Furthermore, it might be fairly feasible for groups of friends to coordinate their actions, but not so on a self-managed global basis. Change from the ground up is, in my view, unattainable.
Yes, but to actually have a global change where we would actually affect the climate enough so we can make the difference in the world, we would have globally set strict rules, basically, that will forbid us to, for instance, eat meat. Maybe like those four examples are quite acceptable example of something everyone could do. But yeah, particularly eating meat is easy not to do and like it's really bad. But I'm only saying that because I don't eat meat and I see myself as better. That's a typical human bias that everyone has, that they see their actions as or themselves as better as everyone else, and that helps one actually live, because otherwise we would have to question oneself even more as one already does if everyone was as good. But you gotta see yourself as better than everyone. That's a typical standard human bias, but you can overcome it when you are aware of it. A little bit at least. Because I'm aware of it and I don't always overcome it, definitely.
Now imagine for a moment if a government dared impose drastic, sweeping measures to limit the height of the fall prior to collapse. It would be besieged by its angry population and should probably expect to be thrown out come election time.
There we go. This is the problem with democracy, basically. The problem with democracy is that we act in our individual best, like what would be best for us as an individual most of the time. And yes, we do consider a little bit about the impacts on society and so on, but we are so addicted to energy consumption. That's the point he's making earlier in the video. Also, we are so addicted to energy consumption as humans. Like, I want my light here. I want to make videos in the dark. I want to have access to the internet and look things up. I want to have I have 2 screens here, freaking A. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4 lights running at the same time right now. I am addicted to having energy, and so is everyone else. And if I would be forbidden by the government to like, if one party would say, hey, vote for us, we will limit your energy consumption. Wait a second, does my camera still work? Yeah, no, it stopped working. I will limit your energy consumption, then I wouldn't vote for them. So what I have to do now is I have to switch my camera pack while you keep watching the video, alright? Anything else? Nah. I will let you watch the video while I will change the camera pack, and then we keep discussing. See ya.
People would never ever agree to something as extreme as a 6-fold reduction in living standards. Regardless of the how, a majority of people would never renege on their comforts, and that's without counting those that don't have what Westerners call basic comforts. How do you figure they'd react to being told to scale back, considering many don't even have running water? The Indian president said ahead of COP21, "All you Westerners and your kind words, I will take global warming into consideration the day my people enjoy your standards of living." The fight against inequality is a pressing issue, and it is up to wealthy countries to lead by example. Sadly, they won't do it because nothing fundamentally drives them to it, and chances are, they wouldn't even know how to divide their standard of living by 6. At the political level, the fix is in. The most glaring evidence being virtually any environmental advisor within government ranks. They are ultimately powerless. They must operate within the system, and as such, bend to its every whim. Our governments, which reflect our society, do not account for ecology and planning. Nothing will change on that front either. In short, a change from the ground up is a big stretch, and policy change is just about impossible. It's a deadlock with no solution in sight. Hence, a collapse is inevitable. So what do, you might ask? We continue to live. We prepare for blissful simplicity. We aim for zero waste.
Awesome. So I fixed the camera for one, and now he's already going into what are we gonna do in a world like this, and this is the part that I liked a lot, but it's also a part that we have to talk about more. How do you deal with a world where we can't really do much about it? And if we can do something about it, what could we do about it? First of all, he already said
Ground up is a big stretch, and policy change is just about impossible. It's a deadlock with no solution in sight.
Policy change is just about impossible. Maybe not. Maybe not. And this is where the conspiracy theories begin. Why some people? I love discussing with people that don't even believe in the reality of climate change. And I wanted to figure out why. And the reason why is there are some things like that loans are still given out to people in Miami. And this video, for instance, explains that Miami and even New York would be gone by 2050, but they are still giving out 40 years loans in those areas. And why would banks do that if the houses on the beachfront are gone by that time when they still have to give out the loans? Then I thought about probably they have higher security payments, and my research also proves that point. So it's not as good of a point. But there is also the belief that, hey, they do this to infer fear, so we have to give our power to a government, and they are saying there will come some sort of charismatic person that they can control at the same time. Maybe I was just having a thought that I won't share now out loud. Fuck it. I was like, this is not my theory, but it makes sense to think that there may be someone that creates a global government and then enforces these rules in order to save the planet. But what if this is the biggest hoax in history? That's what they are saying, basically. What if all of this is the biggest hoax in history to make the world ready for us to allow someone to take global governmentship and allow them to make such drastic rules for the whole world? Because that would give this global government drastic power. And so that's the problem with the solution and the organization of a global change. And yeah, we do have the Green New Deal, but it's not even the most effective way of doing this. There is a guy who wrote a book, how to best spend I don't know the exact number dollars to change the world. Yes, exactly, Bjorn Lomborg, and he says that how would one ideally spend $75 billion? He's I think a mathematician. To make the world a better place, and he wrote a book about it and did a bunch of TED Talks, and he says that the Green New Deal was a very, very ineffective way of going about it. Okay, yeah. I haven't read the book, I just listened to a TED talk of him, or some talk. Not sure if it was on TED. But yeah, so that was just interesting to me. But what I really want to come at is that maybe another solution would be what, if one could ideally make something, it would be kind of a government maybe of the wise people, meaning in Socrates, Socrates wrote the Republic, which is the first sort of utopian description of how a society should be built, where everything is based on education, and there are some really forked up stuff in there that doesn't make sense at all. But there are some ideas that just seem interesting to me and seem like maybe there is something about it. And it's all focused around education. Everyone has equal rights already back then, meaning men, women, all have the opportunity wherever you're born from. If you're good at education, you can level up from and basically become the next leader of the world, and like become any job and you want to have or you can have with your abilities you show in education. And when you get to the very highest ranks and you complete all of your education, then you go out in the world and build something successful. And then you have the opportunity, after you did that and you already built something, you can give up everything that you built and move in with a bunch of other people and live a very modest life where your basic expenses are paid and you live a little bit outside with like a bunch of other with like they are called like something government of the wise, sort of Socrates wise government yeah, he was against democracy. There's even a video about from the School of Life why Socrates hated democracy. I'm just seeing. The ideals belong in a world only the wise man can understand. So he was like, yeah, the wise man should understand, and wise men would give up their wealth, give up their worldly belongings, live on just some basic income, basically, and even though they already built something, they are also very highly trained on how to think, how to philosophize, and so on, and are basically like the highest scientists, sort of, while also having built the worldly success and then renounced it and said, now I want to spend my life serving to build a good society. And I kind of like this idea, and they, because they wouldn't have like just the interest of the themselves in their mind, and they don't even get recognition for it. They aren't recognized for being like a part of those new world leaders. They I think, if I remember correctly, they can't even tell anyone that they are now part of this group. They just renounce everything and give everything away to good causes, and then they seem like they don't do much anymore, even though then they are part of the circle of wise men that guide the most important decision of government. And I thought about how one could mix that with a mix of democracy and this one, in order to create with like fluid democracy combined with leadership of the wisest. And but in order to solve problems like climate change, something like this would be really valuable. And them basically having a right to impose a little bit even on our individual freedom in order to make it better for everyone. I also watched part of the movie A Beautiful Mind, where there is this bar scene where this blonde comes in and he realizes that I can show you the scene, that not everyone would benefit if one would if everyone goes for what is best for them individually. Not everyone would benefit the most, as Marx said, but rather if everyone goes for something a little bit less, everyone would benefit more. In this example of the bar scene, Beautiful Mind, blonde bar scene. Let's see. Yes. Let's watch this one. So.
Nash, ladies. Who's winning, you or you?
Nope, this is not the right one. This one is.
Incoming, gentlemen.
Wait, can I didn't make my screen bigger. Yeah, but here it is.
Deep breaths.
Anyone else feels she should be moving in slow motion? Will she want a large wedding, you think?
Should we say swords, gentlemen? Pistols at dawn.
Have you remembered nothing? Recall the lessons of Adam Smith.
Listen.
Father of modern economics.
Marx and Adam Smith, I think I might have mixed them up just now. How could I?
Ambition serves the common good.
In competition, that's individual competition serves the common good. In competition, individual competition serves the common good. That's what was the belief once, and that's basically the idea that he disproves this theory. But I am so sorry for making the mistake of confusing Adam Smith with Marx, which is basically the complete opposite. And I was always wondering, Marx, why would he say that? That doesn't fully make sense. But I remembered that name coming up. Maybe it comes up later in that scene.
Exactly.
Every man for himself, gentlemen.
And those who strike out are stuck with their friends.
I'm not gonna strike out.
You can lead a blonde to water, but you can't make a drink.
I don't think he said that.
All right, nobody move. She's looking over. She's looking at Nash.
Alright, he may have the upper hand now, but wait until he opens his mouth. Remember me last time?
The funny thing is, he is as weird. I also understand him. He's actually not smiling at all at her, but because of his own thoughts.
Needs revision. What are you talking
Adam Smith needs revision.
If we all go for the blonde, we block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. So then we go for her friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. What if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way. And we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win. That's the only way we all get laid. Adam Smith said, the best result comes from everyone in the group doing what's best for himself, right? That's what he said, right? Incomplete. Incomplete. Okay? Because the best result would come from everyone in the group doing what's best for himself and the group.
And there you go. this is what we need to get to achieve something global in the coming to achieve a better global warming result, because we all act in our own best interest as if we were in a competition with each other, but we need to get that we are that we have to work together, and the best results come if we are working from the assumption that we have to do what is best for us and everyone else, and what is best for us and everyone else and the planet is that we do all these quite drastic measures in order to change education. So yeah, let's finish this scene because it's fun.
This is some way for you to get the blunt on your own. You can go to hell. Governing dynamics, gentlemen. Governing dynamics. Adam Smith. What's wrong?
Here we go.
Thank you.
I love this. All right. And there you have it. Adam Smith was wrong, and that's why a Socrates-built leaders of the wisest could be useful to figure out what would be the best thing to do, not just for myself, but for everyone and myself included in that, and to basically save the planet from collapsing, or doing what Elon Musk is doing and just running around to another planet, running away. But that's a good thing, I think. At least he has the best intention, works damn good at it. I like Elon Musk. Now, let's finish this because now he will talk about how to handle these situations, how to live a life in the face of this.
Hence, a collapse is inevitable. So what do, you might ask? We continue to live. We prepare for blissful simplicity. We aim for zero waste, reduction, and reuse. We strive to inflict the least possible harm around us. We nurture all things local. We grow our own vegetables. We learn new skills. We build communities towards sharing, independence, resilience. But above all, and most importantly, we must not forget to love each other.
So very beautiful ending to a quite dramatic video, which is always beautiful. But yeah, I agree. No, I just wanted to say but. Yet I agree, and while building these communities, which will be more important, and focusing on resilience and so on, we don't have to accept that there is nothing we can really do about this collapse. Yes, we have to, as individuals, we can do individual changes and do, as he said, focus on sustainable living. Yet, at the same time, how about we step up, like everyone that is watching, which probably is no one, or one person, maybe two. What if we step up and see if we can do something about top-down change? Yeah. I'm talking to me as well, definitely. And I'm talking about, if you care, and if you understand this, wouldn't one of the most noble and meaningful things be the right thing to do for your future and the future of your kids and the future for everyone? The best thing, as Nash said in John Nash said in his equilibrium game theory, wouldn't be the best thing for you and everyone, for me and everyone, be that you actually go into politics and share your ideas with a broader scene and actually try to establish a somewhat leadership of the wise and maybe help spread the education. That's the second thing. Spread the education that it is truly important to not just care about, as Adam Smith said, not Karl Marx. Come on, Momo, how could he ever say that in competition one has to focus on individual needs and then everyone wins, basically. That is not true, particularly in the situation that we are in right now, and that if everyone does that, no one gets the hot girl. Or in the situation we are living in, no one gets to live on this planet. And we are all better off if we all make, I hate saying this, some sacrifices in our desire for the perfect, comfortable life. Alright. But while doing so, my belief is that even while giving these things up, you are not defined by your circumstances, and you can still design a life for yourself that you love and that is of service at the same time. That's what we're doing here, and that is a good thing, because the one thing that the world needs is more people that are truly connected with themselves and are motivated by gratitude to move this world and live life in the best way they figured out to live. Or if you want a shorter quote, I don't know who it was from, but do what makes you feel alive, because what the world needs are more people that are alive. I'm always like yes and no, because yes, we need more people that live in flow, because that will get you into a higher vibration where you want to serve. And no, because a life could be misunderstood into hedonism. Like this quote could be misunderstood into hedonism, which ends in disaster. So read the book Flow, or at least a summary of it. Yeah! Well, this was an interesting video that went in all kinds of directions. If you got any questions, if you want me to clarify anything, let me know. And now, go out there. Don't forget to love. And I'm doing the same thing as the video did that we just watched, which is basically saying, yes, the world may collapse, but you and me, what we can do is, for one, focus on ourselves. Make ourselves the best example living a good, minimalistic, sustainable, positive life. Love people, enjoy life. And the one thing that I would add to the video that wasn't mentioned is step the fork up and also take charge and get into some sort of leadership position where you can also influence others to live in a better way. Or to summarize, explore, enjoy, share.